Namaste. It is a Sunday afternoon. You have worked 45, maybe a 50 hours a week. You look at your bank account and something doesn't add up. You are earning more numeric rupees than your parents ever did at their ages. Yet the money feels thin. It feels like a water slipping through your fingers. The headlines tells you we are the fastest growing major economy on this planet. But your reality tells you that your rent just spiked, your health insurance premium jumped 14%, and single trip to a diagnostic lab for a routine blood test wipes out a chunk of your disposable income. Why is there a massive gulf between what the statistic claims and what your pocket fills? Today, we take a sober, unbiased look at the blueprint of the Indian consumer's life. No emotional shouting, just the raw math. Every month, the government releases a number called Consumer Price Index or a CPI. This is a headline inflation. For years, the systemic claimed inflation was under a control at a 4 or 5%. But it was a farce. Why? Because until the recent overhaul, the system was measuring your life using a consumption basket frozen in the year of 2011. In that old 2011 basket, food and beverages swallowed up nearly 46% of the entire calculation. Think about the structural flaw in that logic. If country is progressing, it citizens should not be spending half their income just to feed themselves because food had a massive 46% weightage. The calculation suffered from a severe bias. The price of tomatoes or potatoes crashed in a wholesale rural market. The mathematical average dropped. The government could honestly stand up and say inflation is down to a 4%. But did your life get cheaper? No, because while the potatoes got cheaper, the old index completely ignored or under a weightage the modern things that actually consume your cash today. It tracked the cassette players, VCR, radios, while completely minimizing your actual internet data pack, your mobile recharges, your OTT streaming subscription, and the truthful thing unsubsidize the cost of modern private healthcare. Now, the Ministry of Statistics has finally admitted this failure. They shifted the base year to 2024, slashing the food weight down to a 36.75% and adding 358 modern items like a telecom data, digital services. But even with this update, headline inflation is an average. It combines a remote village market with a tier 1 city. If you live in an urban center, your personal inflation basket is entirely unaligned with the national average. The system tracks your rent, but it completely excluded the actual cost of buying a home. The property market is treated as an investment, not as a consumption. So the pain of being priced out of a roof over your head remain entirely invisible in the official numbers. Let's talk about why you can't buy a home anymore. Let's talk about the raw truth of black money in a real estate without bias but with a pure economic mechanics. Imagine a modest, usable, small apartment in a decent Indian city. The government's official guidance value, the circle rate, says this property is worth 50 lakhs rupees. But the market reality, the seller wants 2 crore rupees. How does this transaction actually happen? The buyer registers the property officially at a 50 lakh rupees, paying a standard stamp duty on that amount. The remaining 1.5 crore rupees is handed over in a pure untracked paper cash. Why does this happen? Because real estate in India has ceased to be a basic human infrastructure asset. It has morphed into a giant, parallel physical shadow bank. It is the ultimate storage locker for undeclared wealth. Now, look at the domino effect this creates for the ordinary citizen who just wants a place to live. When a landlord secretly pumps 2 crore rupees of a undocumented capital into 50 lakh property, they need a return on their actual investment of 2 crores, not the paper value of 50 lakhs. To recover that massive capital layout, they are forced to demand an artificially inflated, skyrocketing monthly rent from the tenant. This creates a brutal distortion. The market is flooded with high end luxury houses that sit completely empty because they are just a vault for parking a foreign NRI, remittances, real estate capitals, and shadow wealth. Meanwhile, affordable, usable small homes for the local tax paying middle class completely vanish from the market. You are priced out of buying and you are squeezed while renting. Every time you pay monthly premium subscription for cutting edge global generative AI tool like a Gemini or a ChatGPT to manage your work, where does that money goes? It leaves the country. It goes to a foreign land. We are a nation of hyper consumers of foreign product because India historically underfunded foundational research and development. We do not own the core digital infrastructure or the hardware like a specialized semiconductor processing chips required to run this technological locally. This brings us to a core vulnerability of our currency, the threat of Indian rupees sliding towards 150 per US dollar in the future. Why is our currency under a constant agonizing pressure? Because of what we call imported cost push inflation. We spend massive, unsustainable amount of domestic wealth importing a basic raw material for our industries alongside lifestyle items. Look at the data for gold alone. India consumes roughly 800 million metric tons of gold annually. Yet our domestic production is mere than the one tenth of that population demands. Every single year, billions of dollars leave our shores permanently to buy a non productive, shiny metal that's it locked away in the dark household safes. We cannot trade globally in our own currency because the rupee is not a hard currency like the US dollar or the euros. When we try to trade in rupees, like our recent attempt to buy a crude oil from Russia, foreign nation end up with a billions of rupee sitting idle in the Indian banks. They can't spend those rupees anywhere else in the world to buy goods. So they eventually demand a payment in a extra transactional foreign currencies or a local currencies like UAE dirham. We are forced to pay an extra conversion charges on every major global transaction, bleeding our foreign exchange reserves. The Reserve Bank of India is forced to maintain over $600 billion in a forex reserves, actively intervening in the market by selling a dollar just to defend the rupee from experiencing an absolute structural collapse. Let's look at the pure financial ledger of a highly skilled professional or the boutique services provider earning a premium income. In many advanced foreign nations, the math is straightforward. If you on 100 rupees, the state might take 20 or a 30 rupees in taxes. You keep 70 or 80 rupees in your pocket, but the 30 rupees you gave to the state return to your daily life in the form of tangible, world class infrastructure, completely free and reliable public schooling for your children, stable social security, and clean, unpolluted public breathing spaces you pay once. Now, look at the Indian layout. If you enter a high income bracket through hard work or entrepreneurial success, you pay effective direct tax rate of up to 39 to 42 percentage of your factor surcharge and education cess. Then you take your remaining 60 rupees, go out into the market to live. Every time you buy a car or a electronic devices, a premium service or a book, a lifestyle item, you pay additional 18 to a 28% indirect tax under a GST. When you compound a direct income with the tax, with the downstream consumption taxes, you are effectively parting with nearly 60 rupees out of every 100 rupees onto the state. But what is the return on that investment? The infrastructure is broken. The public school system is unusable for the professionals, and public healthcare is practically a non existent body. To survive, you must turn around and pay again out of your pocket, paying a private hospital, diagnostic fees, private school, tuitions, and all the toll taxes just to drive on a uncivil roads. You are taxed like a European citizen, but left to fend yourself like a Iceland survivor. The cream brains, our top intellectual and technical talent, look at this exact math on a Sunday afternoon. They realize they are paying a double premium for a basic survival. So they pack their bags, settle in abroad, and they never come back. The government offers a no structural incentives or a tax frameworks to retain or recall them. The pocket of an Indian consumer is not just empty by accident. It is being systematically drained by structural inefficiencies, outdated metrics, and parallel cash economy that rewards hoarding while punishing earning. But if the consumer is trapped, what is happening on the factory floor? How does a local manufacturer survive in this whole the machine? This is the raw truth. We will unpack the next episode. See you in the next episode. Thank you.